major change from the last time we had a problem, 2008. China had a lot of money saved for a rainy day. It started raining. They started spending their savings and helped bail out the world. But now China has a lot of debt too. So I don't know who's going to bail us out next time. North Korea? I doubt it. But China is certainly in less bad shape than most countries. But remember, the United States became the most successful country in the 20th century. But along the way, we had several depressions, many bankruptcies, wars, many problems. We did come out on top and stayed on top for a long time, but even we had a lot of problems as we were rising to the top. China has problems and they will have more problems, but that does not mean they won't rise to the top eventually.
Are you still holding on to your investments in China, or you're buying more?
I have investments in China. I have not sold any. I'm always looking for investments anywhere. If I come across something, whatever it is, I will do my research, and I hope if it's good, I'll buy some.
Okay, and what is your Jim view on, you've had some, last time we talked, you've had some investments in Russia as well, isn't it?
I did have investments in Russia. I mean, nobody has investments in Russia right now. They've all either been confiscated or, the markets are closed, the currencies collapsed. You can't do anything in Russia now. Normally, at a time like this, I would be buying Russia because I have learned that if you buy a country when it's at war and things are very desperate and collapsed, it's normally a good thing if you have staying power, if you can wait a few years. But right now, as far as I know, it's not possible to buy things in Russia, certainly not for Americans. Maybe if you're a Uzbekistani or something, you could buy in Russia. But for most people, it's not practical.
Yeah. I think maybe, so do you see any changes post-war? I mean, when Ukraine or Russia gets settled down, do you see any changes happening across the world in terms of economics or,
Well, we're certainly going, this is accelerating or intensifying the inflation moves. We already had inflation before the war. This just makes it worse because Russia and Ukraine supply a lot of agricultural and minerals to the world and energy to the world. So this is just going to make the inflation, which we already had because of too much money printing and too much borrowing and spending, just going to make it worse.
Yeah, and you think of India in these times, or you don't?
Do I think of India?
Yeah.
I always think of India. India is a wonderful country. If you can only visit one country, I've said many times, if you can only visit one country in your life, it should be India because it's an astonishing country. I didn't say if you could only invest in one country, it should be India. They have a massive bureaucracy and building up a lot of debt. But no, I'm very keen on India. I don't have investments there at the moment, but I'm always watching.
And are you watching the blockchain space and crypto space also? Do you have
Well, of course, blockchain is going to be one of the, if not the most important changes in the 21st century. It's going to put a lot of people out of business. I mean, electricity put a lot of people out of business too, and it changed the world. Blockchain is going to be extremely significant. Many banks' back offices will certainly disappear because blockchain is a major revolution, and it's going to change everything we know.
What I think I've asked most of my questions, Jim. I think it's pretty 20 minutes, but I've asked most of my questions. One thing, our last thing is, again, is it the time for people to keep the cash? What should they do with the excess cash? They keep it, they wait for it. What do they do?
If you know a lot about something, that's what you should do. If you know a lot about sugar, you might want to invest in sugar. If you know a lot about Apple and you think it's the right price, maybe you should invest in Apple. I mean, you point out that some stocks are down a fair amount here in the last few months. If you know something, I mean, most American stocks are still not down a lot. Hasn't been a real bear market yet. But if you know a company that's going to come out and the price is right, you should be investing in it. Otherwise, put your money in cash and wait. I mean, it's better to earn 1% for a while than to lose 10 or 20% for a while. So just if you don't have something that you know is the right thing to invest in right now, put your money in cash and wait.
How long do you think it could last, Jim, this route?
The next bear market is going to be the worst in my lifetime. I told you we had a problem in 2008 and 9 because of debt. The debt since then has skyrocketed everywhere. The Japanese, oh my gosh, the English, everybody has built up huge amounts. America has built up huge amounts of debt. So it's got to be a very bad and long economic problem. We've never had such debt in the world as we have now. I mean, not everybody. Uzbekistan doesn't have a lot of debt. North Korea doesn't have a lot of debt, but those countries are not going to change the world or affect the world very much. But the countries that do, Japan, America, America's the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. So the next time we have a problem, it's going to be a serious problem. I don't like saying this. I'm an American too, but I have to deal with facts, and I cannot just ignore them.
But again, just to on the closing note, Jim, what's the way out? Debt is not going to go overnight, right? Debt is going to remain. China will not be able to pay all its debt once. US will not be able to pay its debt at once. So what's the way out?
Extremely good question. Find places that don't have a lot of debt, that have something good going for them, whether it's Uzbekistan or not, I don't know. I said, if I weren't an American, I would probably be trying to buy things in Russia now, or when the war gets closer to an end. I have learned that buying countries when they're in civil war or war, if you get it near the end, you're probably going to do well down the road. Buy Ukraine when the war gets closer to being at an end. Both of those countries have huge assets. They're damaging themselves badly right now. I mean, this is a crazy, crazy war. It's hurting them. I don't know whoever wins this war is not going to win. It's because so much is being destroyed. But look at places like that, because there may be great opportunities in Ukraine when this finally starts coming to an end.
Right.
But to your point, I mean, Japan has got staggering debt and a declining population. I mean, it has been a great success story for 50 or 60 years. And I own Japanese ETFs, but it doesn't mean they're not going to be big problems in the future. So anyway, am trying to find, why don't you watch Building Wealth? They'll tell you where to invest.